Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here with my April mid-month reading wrap-up. So this is my reading wrap-up for the first half of April. I do my reading wrap-ups in two parts. So I do a mid-month wrap-up. That's what today's is. And so then I will do one again at the end of the month to talk about all the books that I've read for the last half of the month. But in today's video, we're here to talk about all the books I've read for the first half of April. So I have read 19 books so far for the month. So as always, I'm going to link every book, every author that I talk about. So if you miss any, you can go back and check them out in the description of the video. I do that in all of my videos. I also will have my Goodreads linked below, where that is where if you want to see more of my thoughts, my full reviews on any of the books I talk about. I do review every book on Goodreads, and you can always get to those links again in the description of my video. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the 19 books that I have read so far for April. So not gonna lie, April kind of started off a little bit rough. So there's a whole stretch of like 3-star reads that I will talk about first, which there's just been kind of like a mixed bag, I feel like, with this month. I've had no 5-star reads for the month so far, and I've had, I think, a few 4.5 stars, but everything else is just kind of like mid, very fine. So hopefully the last half of the month goes better. But for today's video, let's jump into these books. So first up is Sin With Me by Brooke Montgomery. So this is book 5 in her Sugarland Creek series. I've read all the books in the series. They've been very much like hit and miss for me. Had a couple favorites, but the rest were just okay. This book I gave 3 stars. I had an audio ALC of it, so I was able to listen to the audiobook. This book does definitely have some very heavy trigger warnings, content warnings, so just know that going in. A ton with depression, suicidal thoughts, all of those things. Very much heavy content, which the author does describe at the beginning of the book, but just know that before going in as well. This book, it was fine. Like basically in this book, it is a small town, and here the heroine gets with her ex from like high school, his twin brother. So sounds more complicated or like more forbidden than it actually is. So basically in here, they've been around one another their whole like kind of high school, after high school years. So in here, the heroine used to date the hero's twin brother. In fact, like her ex is actually with her sister, which was the previous book in the series. So again, like not a ton of like forbidden feelings, because like it wasn't that much of a love match. But anyways, so in here, that's kind of how the hero and heroine know one another, is him being the twin brother of her ex, as well as he used to call into like a helpline, to like a mental health kind of helpline, and the heroine was always the one volunteering and working when he called in. So they kind of formed a friendship before meeting each other in person. So anyways, all of that to say, this is a kind of like accidental get married in Vegas type of situation where the hero and heroine wake up married in Vegas, and it kind of happens a lot later in the book than I thought it was, for how much it was like promoted for that being the tropes of the book. And so it happens a lot later, and basically they wake up, they're married, she wants to get an annulment, and the hero's like, no, wait a minute, we're like meant to be, so I'm going to prove this to you, give me like 30 days. All of their family and friends are like, oh yeah, you guys like should totally be together. So it's not really ever a big thing, like a big element of the story of them like not working out. It's kind of just assumed that they will. It kind of like read like an epilogue where the hero and heroine are like sharing I love yous and talking about marriage and children and kind of their future plans like a couple days into this marriage. So I don't know, it was fine, 3 stars. Next, I read Wicked Love by Willow Astor. So this is book 4 in her Single Dad Playbook series. This one, I've read the whole series. I had an audiobook ALC of this one. This one I gave 3.5 stars to. It's not my favorite in the series. That's still like book 1. And then ever since then, the books have just been okay for me. This one, I feel like it's cutesy. If you want low angst, this series is definitely that. This is kind of sports romance, but I feel like this author, from other books I've read of hers as well, she doesn't really fully lean into like the sports elements of a sports romance. It's kind of like that's their career, but you don't see a lot of the sports action on page, which I prefer like the sports to be on page. But anyways, in here, the hero is a football player and he's a single dad to a 9-year-old. His daughter has Down syndrome. And then the heroine in here, they're kind of part of the same friend group. So basically they meet at a friend's wedding and they kind of share the night, like dancing together. They share a table together. And at the end of the night, they end up going back to their rooms at the hotel. And there's kind of like a mix up where the heroine doesn't have a room anymore. And so they're like, there's no more rooms for you to stay in. So the hero's like, you can stay with me and my daughter. And so she kind of stays with them in their like little condo hotel room they're staying in. And so it kind of goes from there where they're very like flirty. They have like a one-night stand. This is a surprise / accidental pregnancy, which is in the blurb of the story as well. But they're not together at the time when they get pregnant. And so this is a grumpy sunshine and basically like just him trying to make things right with her or fit her into his and his daughter's life. And now that she is pregnant with a child with him. And it kind of goes from there, very low angst. It was like cutesy moments, but like not a favorite for me, so that's why it was 3.5 stars. Next, I read 7 of Hearts by Maggie Gates. So this is another like surprise accidental pregnancy. Again, it's in the blurb, so it's not like a surprise to the reader. And so this is the second book I've read from this author. I tried a book from her last month. Didn't really love that one, gave that one 3 stars. This one was also 3 stars for me, and I just don't think this author is for me, and that's totally fine because there's plenty of other authors out there. This is a small town best friend's brother romance where, like I said, it has that surprise accidental pregnancy situation where at the beginning of the story, the heroine is at her best friend / the hero's sister's wedding reception, and those two end up hooking up. And so from there is kind of where this accidental pregnancy happens. And so he was always kind of her crush growing up, and he never really gave in or like ever thought of her that way because she was always just like his sister's friend. And so it kind of goes from there. Like I mentioned, this author, I feel like her books just don't really work for me. They're just very easy, low angst. Like it's just very much here's the tropes and here's the book, and like not a lot to like the story or the plot or the characters that I personally like connect with or like remember at the end of the day. And so I felt like they're just fine and like not favorites for me. And kind of the writing just feels very, I don't know the right word, but it doesn't work for me. So her books and I probably not going to pick up any of hers anymore, which is fine. 3 stars for this one. Then I jumped into Just Our Luck by Denise Williams. So this was a new release from this author. I think it came out in March. And so I've read quite a few of this author's books, and so I decided to give this one a go as well. This is another 3-star read for me. Like I said, the whole month kind of started off with these 3-star reads. So this book is a contemporary romance with fake dating. So basically here the heroine is all about like lottery tickets and buying things for luck. And so she buys a lottery ticket. It ends up being a winning ticket, but she accidentally leaves it with the hero when they have like this one night stand kind of situation. And so he's helping out working at his grandfather's donut shop and trying to make the family business work, even though he wanted to become a doctor. And so now after she left, she kind of left her winning ticket with him. And so he decides he wants to try to get it back to her. And so she's like, we can help one another out. My family's giving me a hard time. I want to prove to them that I'm dating somebody, especially you who are like want to become a doctor. That would look really great to my family, as well as I can help you out with getting like some publicity with this winning lottery ticket. Like I can get some publicity for your family's business that's failing. So it kind of goes from there. Very easy, low angst, like it was just fine. So 3 stars. Then I jumped into The Duke and Lady Scandal by Christy Carlisle. So this is also a first in a new series. This is a new to me author that I hadn't tried out before, and so I wanted to jump in because this cover is absolutely stunning. This one came out this month, and this one was just okay. Again, another 3-star read for me. This book was described as a historical romance, like Victorian London, but national treasure kind of like inspired. I will say I liked in here how both the characters are kind of middle class. The hero in here works for Scotland Yard, so he's a detective, and then the heroine, her family's very like eccentric, adventurous. They own like an antique shop. And so basically in here, the hero's trying to solve a case and kind of gets mixed up or has to work with the heroine. And it kind of goes from there. He's giving very much like cold kind of vibes at first, where he is very focused on his work, and she is more like adventurous, free-spirited, and it's kind of them working together. And I thought it was fine, so 3 stars. All right, and then the next book I read is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. So I went back and forth with my rating for this book. I've changed it multiple times on Goodreads, but this book is very much like a 2.5-star read for me. I know people are loving it. I also know people are not loving it. And like, so some of the time I rounded up to 3, some of the time I rounded down to 2. Like I can't decide what I feel about this book because it's very much just 2.5-star book for me, which definitely hurt because I have read all of this author's books. I usually love her stories, but I think this is my least favorite from hers if I'm thinking back with all of her books. This one just did not work for me. I feel like this book is very much women's fiction with maybe a romance story like subplot in there, and I feel like the previous book from this author kind of did that as well, but this one even more so felt like very much more of the heroine's trauma and family struggles and life and strife and just all the things she's going through. It very much felt like her journey, and kind of it also felt like that's all the heroine was just her like trauma, family problems, loss, grief, all of that. Like I feel like that's all she was. She wasn't like anything more to me. But the hero in here, he's amazing. I feel like this author always writes heroes really, really well. So he delivered, loved him. He was probably like the highlight of the book, but I wanted more time with him and the heroine on page. Basically, this is kind of like a long distance relationship where they meet, they have an amazing first date. He's a veterinarian. They really hit it off. And then she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm like flying out tomorrow to move across the country to help my family like take care of my mother who has dementia. And so it kind of goes from there with her moving to California. The hero lives in Wisconsin. And so they're perfect for one another. They're just not in the same place. And he has a lot going on with his kind of finances and his career and his office that he opened up. And so a lot of things going on with him. And then the heroine, of course, as well, is going through a lot with her family. And I feel like she's just hit with things back to back to back. And sure, it felt like real life, but like, I don't know, the cover vibes for this and kind of the vibe I get usually from this author's books, this book just felt off to me. And so it just wasn't for me. I know tons of people who love this book. And like I said, I know other people who didn't like it like me. So I don't know, maybe read it and see what you think of it. I feel like if you want a book with like family struggles and trauma and drama and all of that and kind of more like real life situations, hard hitting things, read it. But like if you're going in for a sweet swoony romance, just know that's not like the main focus of the book. So I don't know, 2.5 stars for me. Then I read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. So I had an audio ALC of this one. It comes out at the end of April. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. This book, I feel like Emily Henry, her books have worked for me overall. I feel like there's been some hits and misses in her like romance backlist, but for the most part, she works for me. So I always check out her new releases. So this one I really loved. Basically in here, the hero and the heroine, they're both writers and they're both wanting to tell the story of this kind of like mystery woman who's kind of been missing from society for like a couple decades. Like basically she was an heiress, her family was super wealthy and did a lot, and so she was always in the public eye, and so now she's been kind of missing or off the grid for over 20 years, and now she's possibly back on the grid of at least the hero and the heroine, and so they have kind of found her and want to tell her story. So it kind of goes from there with that woman telling them, okay, I like both of you, so like you guys can maybe compete, spend time with me, write something up, and then I'll decide like who I want to work with. So it kind of goes from there, and I just loved in here how the heroine was the absolute sweetest, most optimistic, sunshiny person, and the hero is very much kind of like more cold and gruff at first until she like gets to know him. And I just loved all the moments in here with them. So I won't say too much else because it's not out yet, but I just love these two together. I feel like Emily Henry books, her books, I'm always wanting the couple to be on page like more together, spend time together more. And I know she definitely straddles that like women's fiction and contemporary romance line, where that was kind of the case with Happy Place as well, that I wanted the couple more and less maybe of their like friend kind of group going on and more of the couple. So with this one as well, kind of I wasn't as taken with the story of the woman they're trying to write the story about. Like I got where it was going, but I also wasn't invested as much as I was invested in the couple. So yeah, love them together. 4.5 stars for me. It comes out at the end of April. Then I jumped into Duke of Pride by Mariah Stone. So this is the third book in her Dukes of Sin series, I think it's called. Basically in here, it is a spin on the 7 deadly sins, and all of the heroes are like the Duke of something. So like this one is the Duke of Pride, but it's spelled P-R-Y-D-E. There's a Duke of Lust, L-U-H-S-T, a Duke of Wrath, R-A-T-H. So basically you get it, like it's a spin on these 7 deadly sins. And so this book I gave 3 stars to. This was the first book I had read from this author, I think, and it was just okay for me. I feel like I have read other books with these tropes that I enjoyed more, so not like my favorite like historical romance ever. In this book, the hero is a duke and he has some secrets of his own that he doesn't want to be lit out. So he's very much a man who wants to keep his reputation untarnished. And then the heroine kind of shows up into his life and kind of throws that up in the air. She is a vicar's daughter, and so we get that kind of like class difference set up, and she shows up on his doorstep one day and she's like, hey, this baby who I am the guardian of is supposedly the heir to your dukedom. And so the hero's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have a child. So it kind of goes from there with him kind of proposing this marriage of convenience to kind of bring her in and figure out whose child this is. And so it kind of goes from there, and I felt like it was just fine. Like, I didn't love it, so 3 stars for me. So then after those disappointing reads for the first bit of the month, I decided to jump into some rereads. So I reread the Surviving Time series by Talia Reid. So the first book is The Surviving Trace. This series I originally read like 6-7 years ago and have thought about it ever since. Like this trilogy constantly is on my mind. It's a time travel romance series, and so I decided, you know what, now is the time to jump into a reread when everything else is just kind of being very mid. So I reread this series. So like I said, the first book is The Surviving Trace. This is by Talia Reid. I love the series so much. This is the start of the trilogy. You definitely have to read the series in order because it's following the same couple, the same characters throughout. So it's like a continuation of their story. So this is book 1. I gave this one 4.5 stars. It is what I originally gave the book as well, and I felt the same about it. It is a time travel romance where basically the heroine slips back into time, and when she gets back into time, she realizes that everybody around her assumes she is this other woman who is married to this man, and it kind of goes from there. So she slips back into time into 1912, and we kind of see the story play out. So this one, love it. The audiobooks are available on Hoopla, so I did the audiobooks this time. Originally when I read this series like 6-7 years ago, I did the ebooks, so I decided to do the audios this time, and they were just so much fun. 4.5 stars for The Surviving Trace. And then the second book is The Reigning and the Rule. Like I said, this is a continuation. Kind of the books leave off on cliffhangers and they continue on in the story, so you kind of see more of exploration of side characters in here. You see a lot of side characters in the series that you focus on as well as the main couple, so it was a lot of fun. There's like some mystery elements. This one I gave 4 stars to. This is book 2 in the series. And then the third book and the continuation of this couple's stories is Echoes of Time, and this one I also gave 4 stars to. I feel like the first book is my favorite, and then the ones after that, they just kind of go a little bit downhill slightly for me. I feel like the series overall is just so good and so strong though, so I definitely remembered a ton of moments throughout the entire series, and then it was so fun to reread them. This series also, there are like spin-off books that exist with some of the side characters, some of the family members in the series, so I definitely want to get to those because when I first read this trilogy, those books weren't weren't out at the time and they are now. So I definitely want to go and do that. So I'm glad I reread this series overall and can now continue on and get to the spinoffs as well. So that's the Surviving Time series by Callie Reed. Next, I jumped into another reread. So this is Married by Morning by Lisa Kleypas. This is book 4 in the Hathaways series. So we have this gorgeous moment with the roses and then the beautiful step back as well. So I'm currently a co-host for the Hathaways read along with some other booktube friends. And so this was our book for April. And so I had to jump into it. This is book 4 in the series. This whole series are rereads for me. So this book I actually originally gave 5 stars to, but upon a reread, I gave it 4 stars. So I feel like this book is solid. It's good overall. It's not one of my favorites in the series though. And it's also not one of my favorite like Lisa Kleypas books or historical romances in general. So when I originally read this series, it was probably like 4-5 years ago. And at the time, this was like the second series from Lisa Kleypas I had read. Since then, I've read her backlist. I've also read hundreds of other historical romances since. So this one just didn't stack up like amongst all those others upon a reread for me. Again, it's a solid book. I give it 4 stars. Like I still love it. I just wasn't as in love with it this time around. Basically in this book, this is Leo Hathaway's story. So he is the only brother of the Hathaways family. The whole series follows each of the siblings getting their book. And so this is his story. Basically his family was kind of more middle class and he ended up inheriting a title and a house. So he's now a viscount, kind of having to get used to that lifestyle as well as be there for all of his siblings. So in here, his lawyer or something ends up finding these papers that say that he has to get married, produce an heir within 5 years of earning the title. And it has now been 4 years. So he has 1 year to work with. And the governess for his younger sisters / their companion is just kind of there all the time. And so he's like, maybe her. So it kind of goes from there and it is their story. They kind of have this like animosity to love kind of vibe. So like, I feel like the first half I really enjoyed. The last half I was just like, why are we still going on? Is this book over yet? So that's kind of why my rating went down upon reread. Overall, it's a solid book. It's a solid series. I love the Hathaways family overall, just not a favorite for me anymore. So 4 stars for Married by Morning. Next, I decided to jump into an iconic historical romance. So this is A Kingdom of Dreams by Judith McNaught. I have this gorgeous like first printing edition with the absolute stunner of a step back. I love this step back 2 pieces. It's just so stinking pretty. So this is a historical romance that has been on my TBR for literally years that I've always just been like keeping it up on this like a glass shelf to get to eventually, because I knew so many people loved it and I was sure it was kind of like one of those break in case of emergency type of situations. So I decided to finally get to it because later this summer I'm going to be reading Whitney My Love by Judith McNaught, which is existing in the same series but like hundreds of years later with this family. And so reading that for our historical hellions / my historical romance book club. So we're reading that book in June. So I wanted to have a Judith McNaught under my belt before then. And so I decided to finally read this book. This is like an iconic enemies to lovers historical romance. Actually, the whole series is on Kindle Unlimited, which I think is so cool for historical romances. So definitely check that out if you'd rather read the ebook, because personally I like to do that. So this book takes place in the Scottish Highlands where the heroine is Scottish and the hero is English. And so we have that kind of like very much classic enemies to lovers vibes. It's medieval times. And so it's kind of a bit of captor-captive vibes as well for a bit of the story. So it kind of goes from there. It's a lot of back and forth between the hero and the heroine. The heroine's like very much kind of strong and plucky and it gives the hero a hard time and is sassy, tries to run away multiple times, gets herself into some tricky situations. It goes from there. They eventually fall. They have another like hate to love moment and it just kind of goes back and forth. So I gave this one 4 stars. I feel like it was solid and good, but not like an all-time favorite for me, which I feel like if I would have read this one years and years ago, I'm sure I would have loved it like just as much as other people do. But for me, like it was just fine. I don't know if Judith McNaught's writing is for me. Like it was fine. It just felt a little bit too something, and I can't decide like what it was. Too wordy, too something. Like her prose is very interesting in this book. So I'll be curious how Whitney My Love goes in June when I read that one. This one was just like a little bit too much of the back and forth for me, so that's why it was a 4 star for me. So solid, just not like an all-time favorite. Next, I read My Dark Fairy Tale by Gianna Darling. So this is the first in a duet from her, and this book is published through Montlake, so through Amazon Publishing. So that means that if you check it out from KU, you get it with the read and listen feature. So you get the audiobook with it, which I loved, and that's what I did to listen to it. The audiobook's fantastic because this book is set in Italy, and so the hero is Italian, and you get all of the like Italian accents and words throughout the story, and so I really enjoyed that. I gave this one 4 stars. So this one's a mafia romance that's set in Italy, where the heroine is an American, and she decides to travel to Italy to kind of get in touch with her family roots, / her family doesn't really talk about Italy very much, and so she wants to know kind of what it's all about, and it's like one of her dreams to go there, and so she decides to go there, and it is kind of her romance with the hero that she kind of like falls into a summer with in Florence, and it goes from there. There's hidden identity because of course she doesn't know his like actual life story, that he's in the mafia when the story starts. And I feel like this had a good balance of like his mafia kind of business action side as well as like their romance developing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I can't wait for book 2, which comes out in October. So we have 6 months to wait. This ended on a cliffhanger, but I really enjoyed it. So 4 stars. Then we have The Love Simulation by Etta Easton. So this one is a new to me author I had not tried out before, but this book just came out I think in March. And so I got the audiobook from my library. So this one I gave 3 stars to. I feel like it was fine, very low angst. And I kind of wanted a little bit more. I also feel like I wanted dual POV. We only get the heroine's story. So in here, the heroine is a vice principal for an elementary school and the hero is a science teacher. He's also the son of the principal who kind of has it out for the heroine. And so in here, she basically wants to get funds to fund the school's library and put the resources back into that. And so they end up joining this like Mars simulation with some other teachers. It's like a competition and they could possibly win like $500,000 that she wants to put back into the school. And so it goes from there where at first they have these like very kind of like flirty, tension-filled moments in like the teacher's lounge, which I was loving at the beginning of the story. And so the heroine is just kind of convinced that the hero has it out for her because of his father hating her. And so she's just kind of convinced he's trying to ruin the competition. So the Mars simulation part I thought was so cool. That was like the funnest part of the story. So overall, like it was fine for me. The romance was fine. I just feel like we kind of, you know, didn't get the hero's POV ever. We also, like, it was kind of obvious that she thinks he hates her. He obviously doesn't. And it goes from there. Like, it was just very easy. So 3 stars. Then I jumped into Song of the Abyss by Emma Hamm. So this is the second book in her Deep Waters series. So this is a series I started in March and I really enjoyed it. So basically this is set in future Earth where humans are no longer able to live on the surface of Earth. So they have built these like underwater, under the sea kind of like city domes. And so they all live under the sea now in these domed kind of cities. So in here, the heroine is human and she is the daughter of the general. And so she's very much had to kind of live her life a certain way, is always told what to do. And here she ends up meeting the hero and he's part of like the merman people who live under the sea and it is kind of their romance. And so in here we get this like communication barrier because they can't understand one another at first. And he has always been taught / his people hate humans because of the things that humans have done under the sea, kind of like wrecking it, ruining it, treating his people horribly, killing them. And so it kind of goes from there with like hate to love type of vibe. So I just really enjoy this series. It's given me like all of my like Atlantis dreams vibes. So 4 stars for this one. I really enjoy this series overall. Not like my favorite. I still love the first book as well as the prequel novella. I loved that one the most. But this series overall, super solid. Really enjoyed it. Then I read Lady Night by Amelie Howard. So this is the second book in her YA young adult historical romance series. And so the first book I really enjoyed a couple years ago. That was Queen Bee. Thought that one was so much fun. That one was like a take on Mean Girls, Count of Monte Cristo, kind of like revenge vibes. That one I enjoyed a lot. This one, sadly, it was just okay for me. So this one I gave 3 stars to. This one has like Robin Hood-esque vibes where the heroine is a duke's daughter and she kind of decides to, kind of similar to the previous book, she's kind of tired of people telling her what to do, what to wear, how to live, kind of how to, you know, exist in society. And so she decides that she wants to join this kind of like secret society, this kind of like a girls club where they are basically stealing from the rich to kind of help this orphanage kind of keep running, keep going. And so very much like those Robin Hood vibes. And so it kind of goes from there. And then the hero ends up helping her and he is also like her brother's best friend. And it just goes from there. I feel like the heroine was the strongest part of the story. So it was fine, just like didn't live up to how much I loved book 1. So like it was okay, 3 stars for me. If you want though a young adult historical romance, because I feel like those are harder to find, maybe check this and the previous book out. Then I read Whispers and Wildfire by Claire Kingsley. So this is the 4th book in her Haven Brothers series or Haven Family series possibly. So this one I thought was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I have read all 4 books in the series and I've had my favorites and this one was just sadly not one of those. I think I loved book 1 and 3 the most. So this book is a kind of small town second chance where the hero works at a garage shop and the heroine is his ex from high school. And so she is back in town and he decides to give her a job because she's in town needing a job. He needs somebody to kind of fit in as a replacement at his garage shop. So she starts working there and he immediately like kind of has all these old feelings being brought up of him like only being able to think about her and he can't like ask other people on dates and his game is just kind of off because he's just thrown with her being around. So it kind of goes from there and it just felt very easy, like second chance, which I like more of like angsty second chance, I guess. It's one of my favorite tropes, so I feel like I'm really picky with second chance. And then this is a romantic suspense element as well. And you do get like POV of the villain of the story throughout the chapters, which I feel like the romantic suspense elements just didn't work for me super well. I'm also picky with romantic suspense, so It was okay for me, 3 stars. I like other books in the series more. Then I finally decided to jump into Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. So this is book 2 in her Rose Hill series. So I originally read the first book when it came out, last year, and I didn't love it at the time. And so I decided not to continue on with the series, or kind of like take a break from the series, because I feel like Elsie and I, I've read the rest of her backlist and her books are very hit and miss for me. Some of them are fine, like 3 stars, and then some of them I love and are 5 stars. So I decided, you know what, I will wait a while until I get to this book. So I'm so glad I did, because it kind of gave me some separation between the first book and this book. And so I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4/4.5 stars. This is a small town, single dad romance where the heroine is a country singer, and basically she is taking a break from LA, and she has had some kind of family drama and some drama around her contracts and kind of her career and work that she was taken advantage of, and some things went down. So she's taking a break and decides to head to where the hero lives to record with the hero of book 1. He owns a recording studio in town. And so she decides she's going to work with him. And when she's working with him, the heroine of book 1, she's like, oh, we don't have space on the property yet since you kind of showed up out of the blue. So instead I'm going to put you up in the bunkhouse that my brother owns next door. And that is the hero. So she ends up kind of staying there while working on her country songs with the recording studio. So it kind of goes from there. I loved in here how the hero is a single dad. He has 2 children, and his kids are a part of the story, as well as his children really have a connection with the heroine as well, which was fun to see. The meet cute moment in here as well, the hero and heroine already know one another because he ran into her on her first day in town. She was trying to do some selfies with a grizzly bear, and that interaction was super funny for somebody who lives in a place that has grizzly bears as well. I was like, oh my god, what's happening? So that was fun to see kind of play out in the story, and it's just their romance, and it's just so sweet and so good, and I really enjoyed the emotional connection these two have, and obviously the chemistry is amazing, and I just love the small town setting, and especially his children being a part of the story as well. The audiobook was really fantastic because, like I said, the heroine's a country singer, and so they had hired somebody to kind of perform the country songs as well in the audiobook. So I thought that was really cool because you get to hear it sung out in between some of the other chapters of the book. So that was fun to see, and just overall super good. I'm glad I continued on, which people had told me at the time they also didn't love book 1 to continue to book 2. So I'm so glad I did. 4.5 stars for Wild Eyes. All right, so those are all 19 books that I have read so far for April. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, if you have had any amazing April reads so far. Definitely let me know that as well, because I need some book recommendations. Like I said, I have linked all the books and the authors that I talked about, so if you missed any and want to go back and see the books I talked about, they're all linked below in the description of the video. If you'd rather leave me an emoji in the comments today to let me know that you watched this video, leave me an orange heart for Wild Eyes, for that gorgeous orange cover. So do that. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!